Hi, everyone. I'm Bruce Carlson of the AARP Washington State office in Seattle, and this is Fraud Watch Friday, where we talk monthly about a fraud topic of the month. And this being February, Valentine's Day, we're going to talk about romance, but not the good kind, romance scams. Unfortunately, romance scams are one of the most serious frauds because oftentimes the person being scammed just gets scammed over and over until their life savings are gone. And so it's a scam that we take very seriously. In fact, in 2019, the scams that we know of cost consumers more than $201 million, and that's only what we know of. So to help me talk about it, there are a couple of our great AARP Fraud Watch Network volunteers, Cottrell Dixon of Spanaway and Jim Perkins of Longview. Hi, Jim and Cottrell. How's things going today?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thanks. I'm actually here at my home in Snoqualmie. We usually do these fraud trainings in person with our volunteers, but obviously since the pandemic has come along, we're doing them from home and we're doing them virtually online. So let's get started. Jim, I understand you have a personal experience with a friend of yours in romance scams.
I personally know someone who got online with a woman in Ghana, and she had an old computer. They talked back and forth via Skype, and eventually he ended up, he said, I'll just send you a new computer because I'd like to see you better. It was a real shaky image. And so he got her a new computer, and turned out he bought the computer and she sent a request that he pay $350 to get the computer out of the post office where she lived. So that was just a minor thing. He called me and I told him it was a scam, and he got out of it. But there's more to that story later on. With Valentine's just around the corner, let's hear from Cottrell, who's been looking into romance scams. And how does romance scammers operate, and where are they online, Cottrell?
I'm glad you asked me that, Jim. Romance scammers, you know what they do? They create a fake profile, usually online. And they do it on the apps, and they do it on the dating share sites. They also target you on some of our popular social media platforms, such as Facebook, Instagram, and even Google Hangouts. The scammers, what they do is they strike up a relationship with their targets, and they build that trust. Just like, when you meet a new friend and you start talking and chatting, they end up talking and chatting a lot, several times a day on these sites. Then they make up a story, and unfortunately, they start asking for money.
Cottrell, I've heard that online love interest, if they ask you for money, that's most likely a scam. What's the number one piece of advice you could give us to avoid romance scams in the first place?
Mm-hmm. More than likely, you're right, Jim. That is a scam. After romance scammers cultivate that relationship with their targets, they make up a story, and that's when they start to ask for money. This will typically happen after they've gained your trust through conversations over the app or a website. They begin sharing their personal information with you, like they're having difficulties or some financial problems they're having or medical emergencies. Just like, if you're talking to a friend, and they always use that as a reason where they're preventing them from actually meeting up with you, right? And this is where they start to ask for money. They ask for either cash to be transferred or to buy a gift card. And they always have the promise of, I'll pay you back. Don't worry, I'll pay you back. This is a huge red flag. When asked to send money or a gift card to a person that you just met online, you definitely have to say no. Never, ever send money to anyone that you just met on the internet or not even have met in person yet.
Mm-hmm. I do have a personal story, and then I wanted to ask you a question after the story. What are some other red flags to look out for? But the story that I'm going to tell you happened to a good friend of mine. He got online with another woman in Thailand, and she started asking him for money, and which he sent her, and he kept sending more and started visiting her, and eventually she got quite a bit of money to come to the United States to get a green card. Currently living in Southern California, and he's living up here. Probably I'll never see her again, but they remain friends. He doesn't regret the money. He thinks it's something. It was like saving one starfish in the ocean. So, what are other red flags to look out for?
Some other flags that you look out for is the person may be out of the country, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
or they either work in the military. The other thing is that they change the way you communicate with them. This is a big red flag. You're communicating with them on this domain, the app or the website, the dating website, right? And all of a sudden they say, well, hey, let's start communicating via email. So they want your personal email. Or maybe it's more convenient, they feel, to communicate with you through text messaging. So then you're going to give them your personal phone number. That is a big red flag. The other things is after only a few conversations, all of a sudden they're madly in love. You're the one. And that might make you feel really special or good. But, you know, just in 2 weeks, all of a sudden you're the love of their life. And they're the ones that they've been searching for. That happens. The other thing is written communications. Maybe there's some inconsistencies. The grammar is a little bit off, and there's limited personal photographs. Also, if they seem reluctant to do video conferencing, we do a lot of video chats, just like what we're doing now, and they do those on those websites, but maybe they're reluctant to do the video calling. And they're always plan to visit you, maybe. This is another flag. They're intending to visit this week or next week, or we're supposed to get together, and there's always something that happens to destroy those plans. Those are some of the key flags that I would be looking out for.
I see. You mentioned the inconsistencies and poor grammar. It turns out there are websites that you can go to if you're a scammer and get copies of love letters that you can send to people with very good, and they have perfect grammar. In fact, too perfect. A friend of mine was involved with a woman who was doing that, and I pointed out it was a scam. I just typed in the first sentence of a love letter that she had sent to him, and because it sounded so fishy, and I typed it in the Google search bar, and up comes a whole page of the letter that he had received from her. The whole thing was there, word for word, sentence by sentence. It was amazing. He broke it off with her after that. He realized that he had been taken and went on to do something else. But so, what do you do if you think you are involved in a romance scam, Cottrell?
I'm glad you asked me that. The first thing you need to do is stop all communications immediately and really consider changing your username or passwords or any other personal identifying information that you feel might have been compromised. The other thing, too, is that you want to report it to your financial institution, like your bank or whatever services that you use, possibly that you sent money to this person. The other thing, too, is sometimes we feel embarrassed, but we really need to report these instances to our local agencies because we want to prevent this from happening to someone else. You want to report the scam to the Federal Trade Commission. You can do that at ftc.gov/complaint. Also, the FBI at ic3.gov. And you can also use your local consumer protection agencies and AARP too. You can also report it to the platform you're on. So if you're on a dating website, a lot of those dating websites have red flag, things that you can log into and report a particular person that you're dealing with and list them as a scammer or if they're harassing you and things like that. These are things that you really need to do. And, don't feel bad about it or embarrassed.
I see. Millions of Americans use websites for dating and meeting people online. There's all kinds of them. You see them every time you turn on national TV. You can see them advertised, and a lot of them are good. I know people that have met that way and are married. One couple I'm thinking of, they've been married 3 years or so and are doing just fine. They're not all that way. You have to be careful about where you go and what you do. This is a little short story of something that you don't want to be involved in. Local woman met a guy online. I don't know what website it was. Met a guy online, said he was a prince in Spain, and he had a castle there.
Wow.
And as they conversed online and on Skype, where you could see them, she fell in love with the guy, head over heels, and long story short, she sent him $5,000 so he could prepare a place in his castle for her, wanted to fix things up and didn't have quite enough money to do so, and was going to, of course, bring her over sometime later. Well, later never came, and she lost $5,000. And that's
Wow.
just a local person here that we know of. So you have to be careful, but you can find success online if you're lucky. Thank you, and we're back to Bruce.
Well, thanks very much, Jim and Cottrell, for diving in and becoming experts on this subject and sharing that knowledge with us, especially the personal stories, Jim. That was very interesting. And if you'd like to know more about frauds and fighting frauds from ARP, you can find more at our website at arp.org/fraudwatchnetwork. And also, if you'd like to speak with a volunteer fraud fighter, you can call our ARP Foundation Fraud Watch hotline, and that number is 877-908-3360. And you can get personal feedback and counseling and information at that number from a real live volunteer. So thank you for joining us. We'll have another Fraud Watch Friday next month. The topic will be IRS scams with tax time coming up. That's certainly a topic that we need to address and stay vigilant against. So until then, stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you next time.